Now this is pod racing. Alrighty, we are here live from Clemson University. I'm Nate Goddard. This is my fellow Clemson Tiger.
I graduated 2 years ago,
And
actually.
Peaked in high school also. But here we are. We are doing our Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, right?
My name's Nicholas, by the way. You
We're
didn't properly introduce me.
Anyway,
Nicholas Sherrill.
moving on.
I wish we were doing A New Hope.
We are doing the prequels. We are, oh god. We just finished watching it, and what the Phantom Menace was that? It was
what the Phantom Menace was that idea that we had to do this?
What was going on there? But anyway,
it was a disaster.
Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, stars Liam Neeson, was it Jeffrey Lloyd?
Yeah, I think. No, Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd.
Liam
Neeson, Ewan McGregor, and Natalie Portman.
I mean, there's stars in there, but, you know, I wouldn't say starring.
Most of them are in the stars, not really actual movie stars in this movie. Anyway, well, we start off here. We're, these are the prequels of the first Star Wars movies in, last one came out in 87, so it was the first one in 20 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, 99 the movie was made.
Yeah, 1999. So we're coming in, we're going to see, what the Jedi were like, what was going on, and first thing that happens is Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are on a mission to go into the Viceroy. They're going to go infiltrate the Viceroy. They're supposed to be undercover talking to him. And within the first minute, we already drop our first little Yoda Easter egg when he's like, Master Yoda says I should be mindful of the Force.
Honestly, I hate the fact that the movie started right before they got into this big war. I feel like we were kind of just, even though they had that really god-awful text introduction, where the Jedi are the Guardians of the Galaxy.
The text introduction was so unneeded. They were just like, we gotta do something.
It worked in the first three, right? Why wouldn't it work now? But I hate the fact that it started just in the middle of this conflict when we have no context, and it kind of just sets the pace for the whole movie of, hey, we don't know what the hell's happening this entire time.
The pacing of this movie is so bad. You just go from cut to cut to cut, and they use the sideways, the Star Wars cut that they made so famous, but they just use the hell out of it.
It's too much.
So after Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon go in and infiltrate this place, they realize that they're Jedi, and they send battle droids to go attack them, which I thought was actually cool. You got to see what Jedi were like, because you've never even seen two good Jedi on the same side before.
No, not really. It was cool to see them team up.
So it was cool to see what they were like at their peak. And then anyway, they get away, and then you see the first CGI disaster. They're seeing the ships load up, and they're about to go to Naboo.
Well, what's annoying is we don't even know how they got on Naboo. They didn't even leave the ship. They were on the ship, and then we just cut over to Naboo, and they're on the ground.
There's a little mentioning of it. Qui-Gon's like, you go into that ship, and I'll go into this one. And then the next time you see them, Qui-Gon is running away.
And then they run into Jar Jar.
And then that's when we meet
That's when we meet the great Jar Jar Binks.
Now, me and Nicholas talked about this before I did this. We didn't want to make this a Jar Jar Binks rant, because we could go on for about 2 hours about him.
Honestly, we could make 10 videos about
Jar Jar Binks, we meet him from Qui-Gon and every other animal in this forest. Even if it can't talk, it knows to run away from the big machine. Jar Jar is standing there looking at it. At one point, he's actually running towards it, and then he runs into Qui-Gon, and they fall into each other.
I think his ear gets stuck in Qui-Gon's mouth or something. Who knows?
With that fall, also represents the fall of Star Wars.
The fall of the entire franchise.
The fall of the prequels and the franchise as itself. And
that right there set the entire tone for the rest of the prequels.
The first time you watch it, you're like, this is a cartoon character, because he says, you all know the Star Wars voice, Misago, Yusago, and it's just annoying. He's so annoying. He's a terrible, and then he, there's a line where he says, where Qui-Gon says, the ability to speak doesn't make you intelligent, so get out of here. It's so nice if Jar Jar was like, all right, I'm going to get out of here.
If only Gungans could take social cues, honestly.
And then also set the line for the terrible CGI. Obi-Wan comes and they're talking to him, and Jar Jar will be behind them, but Obi-Wan's looking like this, and Jar Jar's here because there's no depth perception of it because they're talking to a CGI character.
Part of me wishes I was still a kid, because when I watched that, it was awesome. I didn't even pay attention to that kind of stuff. Watching it now, it's just excruciating.
If me and you are Qui-Gon and me and you are Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. We're talking like this, and we're like talking to Jar Jar, and he's like running.
It'd be like we were trying to talk to Yoda right here,
yeah,
and I'm talking to you.
Yeah, it was so bad. Anyway, and then Jar Jar,
God,
takes us.
He takes him to the underwater city.
He takes us to Gungan City, which is a hidden city.
They go into a fucking puddle, and there's an entire city underneath.
about 4 breaststrokes,
yeah.
and you're in Gungan City.
Jar Jar keeps talking about how it's a sacred, secret place, and literally all you have to do is just put your head underwater, and there's an entire civilization underneath.
It's lit up like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And then they go in, and they go into like the main building of Gungan City, and there is the main King Gungan.
Boss Nass.
Boss Nass, Your Highness.
My boy. My boy Boss Nass.
Was a ridiculous character. He was like a more fish version of Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, basically. The underwater Hutt.
The underwater Hutt. Yeah, that's basically what you would call him. And he is like, he has like a particular voice, like he does the Misa and Yusa, but he also like clicks his teeth together, like in between talks, and then he goes.
He's just fixing his dentures.
Words. It's oh god. Oh god. Anyway, and they eventually, they give him a They give him a
Well, I mean, he was banished.
Yeah, so Jar Jar gets banished.
Jar Jar was banished and had the audacity, in classic Jar Jar fashion, to come back to the city he was banished.
What are his words when he comes back to the city he was banished from?
No.
So good to be home.
Oh, he like put his arms up. Oh, so good.
Like you're not even supposed to be here. Oh god.
It's like George Lucas completely forgot about the fact that just 5 minutes earlier made Jar Jar mention that his character was banished from the city.
Yeah.
And he's coming back like he's just came home from a long trip.
You can tell what George Lucas is trying to do with that is he's trying to like show how vast the world of Star Wars is. There's like underwater cities. There's all these different races and
he
stuff.
He just got too ahead of himself.
They don't blend well at all.
Yeah. He tried to expand it too much.
Every time, like even when they're on screen together, they don't talk to each other well. The scene where Qui-Gon is talking to Boss Nass is like Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and then the rest it's like a coloring book. Like it's just green screen to hell, and it's just it's a nightmare.
Yeah. He went too far into trying to expand his universe without actually like kind of getting any depth to his universe.
Yeah.
So he introduces all these new races and these characters out of nowhere. We get no context for these characters and how they interact with civilizations, and then they're all surface level, you know. The Gungans are just this. They live underwater apparently, in the swamps, and that's all we know about them, really. And they talk funny.
I think what they were trying to do was make Jar Jar like the Chewbacca character. Like Chewbacca didn't even talk. If this guy could at least talk, and
if Jar Jar didn't talk,
they made him such a goofy character.
Yeah.
Like. We'll get to more Jar Jar later.
It's an example of taking comic relief way too far.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough about the Gungans because we got to get back to them anyway. They finally leave and they go through the planet core.
Oh yeah. Which is just deeper underwater.
Yeah. And there's just these gigantic fish that are actually kind of cool looking because they're not like I don't know the underwater look of them. There's like one really big one that like eats a big one too and. That scene is good. Like you see the one eat the little one, and the smaller one has their ship in it. And literally, they're being tossed around in their ship. They're in this animal's mouth, and it gets off. And they're like, they've been in this thing's mouth, and it just shows them after the other one gets eaten, and it just shows Qui-Gon, and he goes, "Always a bigger fish." And you're like,
no reaction at all.
You would have thought they'd be like, "Oh shit!"
Some sort of fear in there. Yeah. Like I understand Jedi have to be controlled emotionally, and they have to keep themselves in check. Otherwise, at least at the dark side. Anyway. George Lucas, he sets up so many different opportunities for these actors to just, I don't know, display any emotion or any human reaction. Yeah. And all we get is, always a bigger fish.
No, I mean, it goes back to the CGI thing, though. Because Qui-Gon doesn't see that fish or anything happen.
Yeah, that's true.
When you're not actually seeing it, your acting performance can only be so good. And when you're literally looking at somebody and there's a green screen.
You have to keep in mind, though, that when this movie was released, CGI was still kind of a new thing. So actors weren't really used to acting in front of green screens with fake props and everything. So like, in their defense, I can understand.
No, I don't blame the actors.
I don't blame the actors either.
Except for Anakin. We'll get there.
We'll get to Anakin.
Like Liam Neeson's a great actor. Ewan McGregor, great actor.
Yeah, these are great actors who just unfortunately they had on paper this movie looked great. Like honestly, like the cast, you got the rebirth of the Star Wars franchise. George Lucas coming back into directing. But it just fell apart. It just he got too involved with CGI and trying to implement too much new technology.
Nobody just didn't after the original ones. I'm gonna keep talking. After the original ones, they were like, oh, this guy's a genius, and nobody checked him on it.
Yeah.
Like anything.
Yeah.
So they let him do whatever he wanted to do.
That's the problem. He got too creative, and
he tried to make
it work out in his favor. And this movie is the magnum opus of his failure creatively.
All right, well, back they get out of the Planet Core, and where do they end up?
This guy, can you believe that?
They get to Naboo.
Wow. This is a disaster.
So they get back, and they finally reach the planet of Naboo. Or they're on Naboo.
No, they're still on Naboo.
So the Gungans live in the waters of Naboo, basically, is what I got out of it.
And the swamp. They live in the sewage of Naboo. They're sewer rats. Actually, they just mutated into a civilization.
So they come to the city, and that is where Viceroy is starting to take over. They're trying to make Queen Amidala sign a contract, and they've actually taken her captive, and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan save her. No help from Jar Jar, but he's still hanging around.
Can we talk about the Viceroy real quick, just for a second? I want to rant about them just for a second. I'm ranting a lot, but these guys look like Target costumes. Their mouths they were completely flat. They didn't move.
The mouth moves like this. Like it goes up and down, that's it.
Occasionally the mouth would move when they would speak an entire paragraph of dialogue, and you'd have maybe the mouth would open once.
They had this weird voice.
And they sounded like pissed off sushi chefs.
Yeah, they kind of sounded Asian. They were weird. They're in all three of the prequels.
And they're just
thankfully less and less, but
fortunately.
And every scene is like the Jedi doing something, and then we go back to them, and it never quite links together.
Yeah, there's always very pasted
narrative
cuts.
Yeah, they're trying to
back
juxtapose them, but they don't do it right. You just go back to them, and they're always on a ship, like we will make them sign our treaty. It's so weird.
Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Is it legal?
I will make it legal.
That's another thing.
Not to mention, our Phantom Menace is the most obvious.
It's not a phantom. No, it's an opaque menace. Opaque menace.
The guy, Senator Palpatine. Spoiler here. The Senator Palpatine, who is supposed to be like the Phantom, the guy who is actually the Sith Lord, is undercover as like a politician for like the good guys for the Republic. And the first time you see Darth Sidious is as a hologram, and then it's supposed to be like a mystery who he is. Who he is the first time you see him is also a hologram.
Yeah.
And he's wearing the same thing, and he literally just doesn't have his hood on. It's so there's nothing sneaky about it.
He doesn't distinguish his voice at all.
He's got the same
Sidious and Palpatine.
Wow, they will bow to our wishes.
Yeah.
No, they won't.
If anything, he just makes his voice a little more crackly.
Yeah.
Lord Sidious.
It's
that's
so
it.
bad. It's nothing to Anyway, and that's about when we find out that he has a apprentice by the name of Darth Maul, who is,
my boy.
I think, not the savior of this movie, because there's nothing to
he's not even in it that much.
Yeah, he's not in it that much. We'll get back to Darth Maul. So anyway, they leave, and then they get past the blockade on Naboo, and get through there and everything, and they end up on Tatooine.
Yeah, somehow. Oh no, because they run out of gas or something.
Yeah, they ran out of fuel, naturally.
Something like that.
And Tatooine is like the desert planet. It's in A New Hope and Return of the Jedi.
Where he was born.
Yeah.
Or not he was born, but where he was born.
Yeah. And there's where Anakin is where they meet our good friend Darth Vader.
No. Anakin Skywalker.
Anakin Skywalker.
Spoiler!
10-year-old Anakin Skywalker. The worst child actor ever?
You could definitely make a good argument for that.
There's an argument
Absolutely. You could definitely make an argument for that.
He is so bad in this movie. That kid is so bad.
It's just one of those things that it's just almost uncomfortable to watch him act or try to act. And I honestly, watching it, I felt bad for the cast of adults who had to deal with this kid on a daily basis, who had to pretend like this kid didn't just deliver the worst performance of his life. His name is, what was his name? Jake Lloyd. You probably haven't heard of him because he hasn't done anything since this movie because his acting was so bad.
But the thing is, there's a scene in this movie. We're skipping some stuff. It's not important. Oh, also, sorry to go back to Jar Jar, but there's a scene where they're walking into town and Jar Jar steps in poop.
Yeah.
That's what Star Wars has come to.
George Lucas.
Step in poop humor.
may not have made a great movie, but what he paid the best attention to detail in is everything, every shot that Jar Jar is in the back of every shot, he's doing something asinine.
Jar Jar's like falling around, knocking things over.
In every shot Jar Jar's in, he's knocking something over. He's got his tongue stuck in something. Like George Lucas definitely paid attention to Jar Jar's antics in the back.
I think Jar Jar was supposed to be the star of this movie.
Honestly, I think he was.
Oh my God.
Honestly was.
And then, anyway, there's a scene in this movie where Anakin takes them back to their house because there's a sandstorm, and they have dinner with Anakin's family. And the dialogue at this dinner table is so bad. Everything, so you're just sitting at a dinner table, but every cut is like, there, stop, there, stop, there, stop. Like, there's better dialogue in Step Brothers at that dinner table when he's like pouring ketchup on the, every time he's like, there's a line where Qui-Gon says something about racing, and then it's like, long pause, and then Anakin's mother, Shmi, goes, Anakin, and then it's like, pause, and Anakin's like, you say the biggest problem in the world is that nobody helps each other.
Oh God, yeah.
Like, damn it.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
Anyway.
The editors just got super lazy with
they
that.
just like didn't
they must have
together.
fell asleep. Got the assistant editor in there.
At times you're like, are they even all at the table? Did they, like all the actors have a schedule where
they all have their own
at the
table to sit
different times? Oh God.
Oh man. But yeah, so we're introduced to Anakin Skywalker, who, yes, spoiler alert, is Darth Vader eventually, and he's supposed to be this chosen one, but he's just this kid, and he's just no depth to him.
Yeah,
the actor.
You didn't have to go into the dark side of him yet. Like, you didn't have to do that, but you had to put some like emotion.
Yeah.
Into it at least. Like
He's a slave to this fucking blue fly, this Jewish blue fly.
Watto.
And he just has no happiness, no sadness. He just gets by in life with his mom, and his mom is the worst mother in history. She doesn't give a shit about her
There's
kid.
a lot of let's talk about pod racing before we get there. But there's lines in this movie where Anakin, they're like he can't like express it, so he literally says like, I'm sad.
Yeah.
Like his line is like, I'm sad.
The only cues for emotion that we get in this movie are when the actors outright say, you look sad, or
they're like, you seem not happy.
Yeah.
The actors in this movie are wooden. They're Yoda sitting right here. You might as well have Yoda talking.
Honestly, you could have cast a cast of mannequins and just done voiceovers, and it would have been the exact same effect.
It's not the line delivery is bad, but it's not even fully the actor's fault. These scenes are all not real. They're talking to not real characters. Like, it's just terrible. Like, that's the big reason why. Because obviously, if you screw up Liam Neeson, like, it's not his fault.
Right, yeah. Right.
Anyway, so we get to this big thing where Liam Neeson, Qui-Gon Jinn makes a bet with Watto. And Anakin wins the race. He gets to take Anakin back.
He sees potential in it. Yeah. He recognizes
that's not now
the potential as a Jedi for him.
There's something you can prick someone's arm and get a blood count.
Oh yeah.
And there's a number called midichlorians, and that means that if you have a lot of midichlorians, you are adept to the Force.
I'm having a physical on Monday. I might get my midichlorian count checked.
My midichlorians are
I'm afraid it might be a little low. I need a midichlorian supplement.
Like, the whole thing was that when Yoda was teaching Luke at Dagobah, teaching him how to like adapt to the Force and stuff, he was like, the Force is around us.
Right.
Like, you have to let it in. You have to adapt to
what's
around you.
When the Force was first introduced, it was introduced as literally a force, like this otherworldly thing that was in the world around us, and you kind of had to learn how to live in harmony with it and utilize it.
Not a biological thing.
It was. And now
Qui-Gon actually says in your cells, like it's in your blood.
Yeah, later in the movie he goes into a little more explanation about midichlorians, and he explains that it's literally just this microscopic organism in your cell, in your blood cells, that gives you superhuman abilities. So the Force goes from this magical thing to just being
not magical, but like fantastic.
Fantasy type. This awesome thing to just being a biological trait that some people are born with. So
some people have green eyes, some people have the Force.
Yeah, right. Right.
And anyway, so Anakin wins the pod race. He beats Sebulba.
Well, hold on. We can't just skip to the pod race thing. That's probably one of the most amazing scenes in cinematic history. The pod race, arguably the best thing in Star Wars history, maybe even all of cinematic history.
I have to disagree.
This scene was definitely crucial to the plot line, I have to say. Definitely crucial. It lasted maybe about 20 minutes. So, so you got a fourth of the movie is just pod racing.
The whole time you either see Anakin straight on, like a first player, like video game look from Anakin, or just the pod races, the pods going.
Yeah, every shot is just. That's it.
This whole time, Anakin's mom, Qui-Gon, and Jar Jar and Padme are watching from like this thing. They have like this thing to watch.
They have iPads.
Yeah, it's like a
live streaming.
The only person that talks the whole time is Jar Jar. Like you can watch. I think that, or actually, Padme says one thing. Other than that, Jar Jar's the only one that talks.
Well, here's another.
He'll be like, get him, man, get him, man.
Yeah. There's another example of how bad Anakin's mom Shmi is, because there's that scene where he almost this 10-year-old, her son almost dies. His pod racer almost explodes, and her only reaction is,
she's like this.
She barely even cringes at the fact that her son almost died.
Is Anakin about to die, or did she just fart a little bit?
Yeah. Did Jar Jar step on a pile of shit, or did Anakin just die?
But that's another thing about it. She's not watching it happen. Like, as an actress, she like didn't see what happened. Yeah. So she's not reacting to anything real. They're just like, so George Lucas literally said, make a concerned face. And
so she went.
So all we got was.
Well, you know what? Now we know in the future, if any director ever needs to make a concerned face, he needs to look for a different actress, because hers just doesn't cut it.
Anyway, all right. Well, he wins the pod race, and Watto hesitantly lets Qui-Gon have Anakin, and they take him to Coruscant where he is to be trained.
Yeah, he's supposed to be tested.
And this is where we finally get to see our boy here.
Yoda. Oh yeah. Who? I mean, I thought it was kind of weird how it was all of a sudden just Yoda. You know, there was that build-up. Like, you think for a character like Yoda, you would have some sort of like
they mentioned him earlier in the movie, and then also, I don't think you see Mace Windu stand up in this movie.
No.
Oh, at Qui-Gon's funeral. Spoiler.
I think he was sitting down in that too.
No, he's standing on the side. But anyway, my point here is the Jedi don't do shit. 3 of them talk to Qui-Gon. There's like a dozen other Jedi who literally are sitting there. None of them talk. They're like weird, like CGI, and one of them's got a really long neck. Like there's a Jedi with a long head, and then there's one with just a long neck.
It looks like someone took like a Publix balloon and just like with the string on it, and just put that in a cloak and called that a
The Jedi Council is just like, it's just so anticlimactic to see like this was the Jedi. This was the strong force.
Yeah.
They're all sitting like this.
Yeah, they look like a bunch of old, middle-aged men drinking beer, watching NASCAR races.
They're all sitting like meditate. And like I never got like Qui-Gon obviously wasn't on the council, but why does Qui-Gon do all this dirty work and like they all sit on the council like?
Right. And it seems like it's just odd to me that only he was the one who was doing all this dirty work for them. You know, when they have this is the peak of the Jedi.
Mace Windu's supposed to be Yoda's supposed to be like amazing.
Yeah.
Mace Windu's supposed to be a really strong Jedi.
This is like when the Jedi were at their most powerful, and then like their influence was galaxy wide, and the Sith are gone, and everything, and all we see Jedi wise is the Jedi Council of bums and Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan.
They touch up on it a little bit in Clone Wars.
That's true. You
see some training, you see some stuff, but in this one, you see Jedi sit, and which happens the whole time they're on Coruscant. People sit and talk to each other, like wooden faces, and they're like talking, and they talk and talk and talk, and Palpatine comes in and he's.
You can't even understand half of what he says.
And he's also like obviously the bad guy, and there's no like.
Yeah.
He comes in and he was like, I was voted chancellor, and we're like, we know that's the bad guy. Like, this is not good.
Right.
Anyway.
Even a kid who hadn't seen the original 3 Star Wars, just from the obvious clues that are thrown in your face in the movie, you can figure out that
this guy,
Chancellor Palpatine, Council Palpatine. Sorry, he's not.
No, they don't call him. They don't ever call him Palpatine.
Oh, they just call him
the
Counselor.
Original trilogy. So like you wouldn't know.
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't know even if
he's the Emperor in the original.
But still, like you know immediately. There's nothing hidden in this movie about that.
Even if you don't make the connection that he's the same Emperor from the first 3, you can easily make the connection that he's Lord Sidious.
Because the hologram thing was so stupid. I can't believe they did that. Both times they show him.
Well, at the end with at Qui-Gon's funeral, or no, at the parade, the ceremony, when they show him with his hood on. you know, from the profile.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, well, what was destroyed, Master Apprentice?
Yeah, yeah.
And like, it's just so
We'll
obvious.
get to that. We'll get to that.
Let us infer something.
Anyway, there's like Queen Amidala's trying to get people to help her because Naboo's getting invaded and all this shit happens, and she finally just is like, I'm gonna go back to Naboo and try to take it back. And Jar Jar, there's a line where never have we related to Jar Jar so well. Jar Jar goes, "We're going home," and we're like, "Get us off this fucking planet!" Thank God. It is ridiculous.
Oh no! Remember earlier when he was on the ship at the beginning of the movie, he was like, "I don't know how I ended up here."
Jar Jar
us either, Jar Jar. Us either.
Jar Jar was like, "I was just in the morning, and then boom, grabbing the Jedi,
and now I'm here." And I was like, "Jar Jar, we're in the same boat, man."
You just summed up the pacing of this movie.
If anything, Jar Jar explained the plot better, accidentally, than the entire movie.
The Phantom Menace narrated by Jar Jar. That's what you need. Anyway,
bonus commentary.
So we get back to Naboo, right? We're on like kind of the third act of the movie now.
Yeah.
So we're back to Naboo, and Viceroy's taken over, and Queen Amidala makes a plan to have. Well, first she tells Jar Jar to reunite with his Gungan family.
Yeah.
That's what happens first.
Right.
So he gets back with the Gungans. Queen Amidala, who is Padme, the big reveal, which was supposed to be like a big twist, I guess.
Right.
Was that the girl that Anakin has been crushing on is actually the queen, and that has
and not just the handmaiden. Yeah, because she's been using a decoy this whole movie.
Yeah.
And
it's creepy that they're going to be a relationship to start with.
Right. Yeah, you're like dating your teacher.
Yeah. Or your TA.
Or your college TA.
And then, oh god, anyway, and he, and then all that Padme or Queen Amidala, I guess, says is, we beg you to help us. Our fate is in your hands.
Yeah.
And he goes, we shall be your friend. and then they go to war for that.
Well, then Jar Jar goes from being banished from his home city to being a goddamn general in this army, in the Gungan army.
In Jar Jar fashion, Jar Jar celebrates by being promoted to general by tripping on something and falling on the ground.
Yeah. Jar Jar probably killed the most droids in that entire battle. Oh wait, we got it.
Well,
getting ahead of myself here.
Yeah. So the Gungans are going to fight the battle droids to distract Viceroy, and they're going to sneak in and try and capture the Viceroy and get the base back, capture the
good battle tactics on paper.
Anyway, so it's CGI battle droids versus CGI Gungans. The landscape looks like a screensaver, like background.
The windows.
It does, like a little hill. It looks so bad, and they're just like. They go at each other. There's like a big shield that the Gungans put up, and it goes around them.
Yeah.
And
well, that's the thing too with the landscape too, because it would have been just as easy to just go into a field somewhere, like
taking a few sweeping
drive
shots.
out to the country half an hour, find a field, and just film it there. You wouldn't have cost yourself any more money than generating this computer-generated
We
field.
noticed this. There's a scene where it's Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. They have costumes on, but there's nothing else. There's no Gungans in the background. There's nothing else going on.
Yeah.
They CGI'd just like some grass and a tree. Like it's green screen. You can see their bodies. Like you can see the line like around their bodies. Like it's green screen, just a tree.
And it's unfortunate because he just got too swept up in the technology and the CGI fascination. Yeah. And he just took it too far. And honestly, just go out in the woods, go in your backyard and film this. Like you could have had the same effect better. It would have been more believable than just.
I wonder if every scene in this movie was filmed in like the same room. Oh god. Anyway, so
we could have filmed the movie in this room right here if we just had a green screen.
Green screen, a little computer. Anyway, so we get through, and Padme, Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Anakin is also with them on this mission. 10-year-old Anakin. He literally goes in, and Qui-Gon immediately tells him to hide. It makes no sense why he's there.
There's no point.
And anyway, they go in, and they're trying to capture the Viceroy. And they keep saying, like, capture the Viceroy. Like, that immediately means, like, yeah, our base is back, ours. But
yeah.
Anyway, they go in, and they run into Darth Maul. And this is the saving grace of this movie.
Yeah, this scene right here. We all know this scene.
Yeah. Darth Maul pulls that out, and you're like, why does he hold his lightsaber like that? And you're like, all right, there it is.
That's the game. That was a game changer. When I was a kid and I watched this movie, that was a game changer.
Yeah, that was awesome.
when I saw
and
that.
they had like
I about pissed my pants when I saw
Darth
that.
Maul was like really, he was like, you believed that they needed 2 people to fight this guy. He was so active, he was like flipping, like turning around. And Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are moving fast too. They're jumping around. It was really good, like a really good thing to watch.
It was tense. It was stressful to watch.
But you only get it for like 2 minutes at a time.
Yeah. That's an annoying part because they just had too much going on.
You're getting into this fight, and then we go back to Jar Jar in the battle, the Gungan versus battle.
Oh yeah, let me say that Jar Jar probably caused the most casualties for the droid army, strictly by falling over a broken droid and
the wires
somehow triggering the wires on its torso to fire its gun. So he's like flinging his foot around with this droid attached to him, and the gun's going off, shooting other droids, and that's like the most damage done to this entire army.
Jar Jar also, he grabs onto the thing, and like the thing opens, and the Gungans, the grand warriors that they are, fight with blue balls, and they throw blue balls and like launch them.
They just throw marbles.
And Jar Jar accidentally opens the thing, and they all roll out, and they make this noise.
They sound like playground balls hitting concrete.
But they somehow like destroy tanks. So, moving on. Padme. Well, meanwhile, there's like 3 basic scenes going on, which is
too much.
There's a war.
It's too much.
There's an awesome like Jedi battle, and then there's Padme
the space
trying to
war.
get in.
Space battle.
And and the space battle. There's 4 things going on. We're in.
Padme's in the palace.
We've broken into 4 different stories.
Oh boy, that's a lot.
Because Anakin gets in the ship and he accidentally, the autopilot's on.
The autopilot's on.
He accidentally flies out into space. And he also accidentally blows up like their mothership from the inside.
He Jar Jar'd their mothership.
He Jar Jar'd that ship. Anakin Jar Jar'd it real hard. And blows it up, and of course the Gungans are like captured, they're about to lose the war, and the mothership blows up, so it turns off the droids, and what do we want?
Yeah. Conveniently, every battle was resolved at the exact same time.
Yeah. Well, not exactly. But then so Padme's getting in, and then we finally get back to the Jedi battle, which is the good part of the 4 scenes going on.
And it's arguably an iconic scene in cinema and in the Star Wars universe too. But it's just so chopped up and screwed. It's unfortunate that you don't get more of it all at once.
When Qui-Gon dies, it's actually a little surprising. Like you would have thought like he was going to train Anakin for a while. That's what I thought.
It was a big twist. It was a big twist.
It was actually a pretty good plot point. That was a good thing they did.
But
you're not happy about it, but.
Oh no, you're not.
You like Qui-Gon.
It was devastating.
Qui-Gon is as terrible as his acting was. Like you like him. He's like got the grandfather.
Well, and that's another example of just the actors being in this unfortunate movie because Qui-Gon dies and Ewan McGregor just screams no, and then he looks bored immediately afterwards. Like he's just waiting because he's stuck behind this like red laser force field, so he can't get through.
Looking at Darth Maul, they could have done something really good there. Like, they can't fight each other right now, but he's looking at the guy who just killed his master.
Yeah.
There could have been something really powerful.
Yeah, and there was no emotion on his face.
It was Obi-Wan, like, catching his breath still for some reason.
Yeah, he was like waiting for he was like looking at the thing, like, at the door, like, are you going to open soon?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. They could have done something there. I don't know. Anyway, he cuts half his lightsaber off. So Obi-Wan's winning for a while, but then Darth Maul kicks him into this hole, and Obi-Wan grabs onto something, and...
Conveniently, there's a little knob
for him to grab onto, and kicks his lightsaber into the hole, and Darth Maul is standing above him, smacking the ground, trying to like to make sparks fall on Obi-Wan, and you're just like, this was so cool. Why is that part of this?
I thought it was cool. Because it's like he's taunting him, I thought it was cool.
I don't know. All right. And then Obi-Wan, you all know what happens. He forces his way up.
Yeah.
Forced
lift. Yeah. He forced body ups.
Forced muscle ups his way up. Grabs Qui-Gon's lightsaber, and one thing that Star Wars, the prequels, kind of like lost out on was the battles were so intense. Like there was always such good movement. Whenever somebody dies, it looks like, wow, it feels like they could have blocked that.
Yeah.
Darth Maul, he gets up there, stands there, he flips over Darth Maul.
And Darth Maul just stands there and watches him.
He cuts him in half.
Yeah.
Darth Maul falls in the hole into.
Well, here's what is confusing to me too, because Obi-Wan manages to force lift like 20 feet in the air, do a flip and everything, but you never really see any of that happen. Like if they have the ability to do these like crazy acrobatic, they can use the force to jump higher, speed run. They just never do it. You never see it, and so like honestly, I feel like the fight scenes could have just been made that much that much better if they were actually utilizing this force that they have.
Or just not do it at all, because then it's just like, why doesn't he just
or that
super jump? Because like Luke never super jumps.
That's true.
Like, there's no super.
I was just thinking that a lot of Star Wars battles are resolved by somebody hanging and lifting themselves up.
Yeah,
it's a very common thread.
It does. It happens. So anyway, we're winding down here. What happens next?
The movie kind of just ends afterwards.
It ends so abruptly.
Yeah.
They're like at peace with the Gungans, obviously, but one weird like continuity thing is when like in the original trilogy when Yoda dies, his body fades away. When Darth Vader kills Obi-Wan, his body fades and it's just a cloak there. When Qui-Gon dies, his body's still there and they burn his body at the end.
Yeah.
It's
I get the whole Viking funeral kind of thing, like sending them off honorably.
It was cool, but
it's almost as if George Lucas forgot about a lot of the things that he
forgot that movie he made.
Yeah.
Oh wait, there were 3 of them.
He forgot about the lore and like the whole.
And then
I don't know.
At Qui-Gon's funeral, though, is the obvious.
There's just lots of different holes in the lore. Gaping holes even. You could fit a stapler in that hole. You know what I'm saying?
But at the funeral is that Yoda and Mace Windu are talking, and they say we killed him or whatever, and they're like, but who did we kill? The master or the apprentice?
Right.
And then as they do it, they pan over and they show Palpatine at his funeral.
That's what I was talking about earlier when they showed him when he's wearing the hood at the funeral. They show him from profile. So if you had paid attention at all during this train wreck of a movie, when they had shown Lord Sidious as a hologram, they always show him from the side so you can't see his face. So you get that full profile with the hooked nose and everything, the beak of a nose he has. So that's what they show at the end. But I honestly think that's like the first insightful line of that whole movie at the very end, because it kind of it foreshadows to the third movie.
Yeah, my thing was like this whole thing was called the Phantom Menace. I thought it was really supposed to be a lot more about Sidious. Half the time you see him, he's a hologram.
Yeah.
Or over half the time, I bet.
Yeah.
And like it's supposed to be like, who is this guy? And then there's this like the Palpatine character. Like, why would he even be there? It's so obvious.
It did a good job in setting up the fact, and it did a good job playing the role as the first movie in the trilogy. Kind of setting up the rest of the trilogy. But they definitely could have done, if they're going to name it the Phantom Menace and kind of
have some mystery,
imply this like shadowy political movement, they could have definitely included a lot more of that instead of just Jar Jar flopping around for 2 hours.
I counted. What was it? I think there were like 2 Jar Jar poop jokes, and then a scene. There was like this animal, and it like farts, and Jar Jar like smells the fart.
Because why not? Why not?
Like they slid in these things with Jar Jar, and they're asinine. They're like 10-year-old.
Yeah, why not?
It's ridiculous. Anyway, so we're basically wrapped up there.
The movie there's the funeral, and then immediately after the funeral, it jump cuts to a parade.
Just to make the continuity and pace of this movie complete shit. Qui-Gon is literally dying. There's a sad music. There's a parade. There's like a happy parade.
Yeah. It's just the cherry on top of the steaming turd, honestly.
Okay. Is there anything you want to sum up? My thing about this movie was I always think they didn't need to do Kid Anakin. I always thought they could have started off with Kid Anakin.
Yeah, they could have made him a couple years older.
Like 20-year-old Anakin. He's already starting to be trained.
Yeah.
See a little more of his training. And then maybe you could still go back, he could still have a mom, but you don't need to have the thing with the mom. I didn't think I didn't think the pod racing needed to happen. The relationship with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan was supposed to be so much deeper than it was, but it was surface level.
They barely ever interacted.
Yeah, there was not much.
Well, yeah, because when you're a master and apprentice, you kind of have that special, especially as a Jedi, you have that special bond.
Yeah,
and
they're supposed to be like father-son almost.
Yeah, basically, and there was barely any interaction. Because in the second and third movie, you see a lot more of that with Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah.
But
Ewan McGregor is actually really good in the second and third one.
He steps up a lot in the second.
He's not that great in the first one, really. Nobody was. They CGI'd the hell out of this movie. There's no way around it, and it was like George Lucas. Everybody was like, "Oh, he's such a genius. Let him do what he wants. He has a vision for this. Let him do it."
Yeah.
And he just went a little far. This was actually when this movie came out. the graphics in it and everything were like revolutionary, and
Right.
it actually saved
Right.
this movie for a while. I loved this movie when I was a kid, and probably didn't see it for like 5 years maybe. And I went to go see it when it was re-released in like 3D or something, and I was just like, dang, that was not good.
Yeah.
It's sad. You haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, this is my first time that I've seen it since it was in the theaters. Really, I hadn't really watched it since. I mean, it came out when we were like 5.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen it since then, and so I still had this childish image in my head. This
Jar Jar.
starstruck. Yeah, I thought Jar Jar was awesome.
Yeah.
He was annoying as hell, but I mean, I still love him. But so for me, you know, having not seen it for 15 years, it was
And it's like they made it more for kids, and it's an adult themed.
Yeah, it's not a kid movie.
It's kid friendly-ish.
It's family friendly, but it's
but it should have serious themes. It shouldn't have Jar Jar stepping in poop everywhere. Star Wars Episode 1, Jar Jar.
I think George Lucas and his crew of writers just made it while they were drunk one night. They wrote Jar Jar in while they were drunk.
Jar Jar like shouldn't have. It feels like, and it really feels like they made this movie to sell a lot of toys and to make a lot of video games.
Yeah.
The pod racing thing, the Anakin flying the spaceship later, like a lot of the stuff they did just felt like they I don't know, they didn't help the plot at all.
What plot?
Yeah. You want to finish with a rating?
Well, I just want to say one more thing is I feel like it wasn't a good place to start, even though it was a good in the 3 movies. It was good setting up the next 2 movies, but I feel like it wasn't a good place to start the trilogy overall. You know, I feel like I would have liked to have seen the prequels start much earlier.
Really?
I think so.
I think
I would have liked to have seen before, like a movie before Anakin came into the picture, and then the second movie, this movie.
I think they also should have done a lot more with the Jedi. Star Wars Jedi, hand in hand. It's the first thing you think of.
Right.
We got Jedi an hour and a half in this movie, and they didn't even, not one. How many lightsabers did we even see in this movie? Just Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and then
4 really.
And then Darth Maul's 2 lightsabers. That's all you see. You see a bunch of Jedi not ever doing shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like in the Clone Wars, which I'll be reviewing next. The Clone Wars are like, all right, we'll make up for it.
Yeah.
We'll put them all in there.
The game was definitely stepped up a lot for that. But I mean, I just feel like this movie would have better served as a second movie than a first movie.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of hope for the storyline.
Because it just bothered me how you were just thrown into this war, this conflict out of nowhere. And I understand with the first 3, it's kind of the same deal, but it was just set up a lot better. And I think it's where this movie failed is just the narrative was just too jumpy. It was riddled with holes and everything.
Yeah.
And it was too inconsistent with the first 3 movies.
Yeah.
And Darth Maul was arguably, you know, the saving grace of the last 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
But as popular as the character as he is, I feel like he's also the most kind of unnecessary character for the movie.
They could have saved him for the next 2.
Because
because they go with Dooku. Dooku's cool. But
Darth Maul and Dooku would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be a cool duo.
But I just feel like he kind of just shows up out of nowhere, and just like that, they kill him off.
Yeah.
And
you've only seen him in 2 other
seasons. His sole purpose is to kill the Jedi, and so he sort of accomplished that by killing off Qui-Gon. But like he kind of just shows up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if he wasn't in the movie, it wouldn't have made any difference at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it kind of saved it though.
I mean, the movie would have been a lot shittier, but like
the storyline, it really wouldn't have changed.
The storyline wouldn't have changed.
You're right. You're definitely right there.
But anyway, those were just my final.
You got a rating? Gonna go out of 10?
I'm gonna give it 1 Gungan shit out of 10.
I'm not gonna go to that. 1 Gungan shit.
No, I give it a. Are we doing decimals?
You can do what you want. I'm gonna say 4.5 out of 10.
I was gonna give it a 5.5 because it still has some saving graces, and it kind of just the fact that it's Star Wars, you kind of have the nostalgia surrounding it. So it's really just saved by the cameos and the nostalgia.
Yeah, lots of cameos.
So I'm gonna give it a 5.5.
How excited are you for Force Awakens? They're gonna say that they're gonna get it going.
I'm a little apprehensive about it. I'm excited, but I don't want another Phantom Menace.
I think it's gonna kick ass though. I think they got this right.
Yeah,
it feels like it actually feels like Star Wars.
It looks like a much more mature Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like where Star Wars should have headed with the first 3.
Yeah.
Instead of being more immature. So I'm excited for it, but I'm also going into it kind of cautious.
Yeah, definitely. Don't raise your expectations too high to where they can't be met.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm going to try and review all 6 Star Wars movies before The Force Awakens come out. So, I'm Nate Goddard.
I'm Nicholas Sherrill.
Signing off.